What is up, everybody? It is Jake with the MF Film Room. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be updated on all things EA college football, hit the red subscribe button right now. Do it. Where is it at? Click it right now. You will be updated on everything EA college football. I promise I'm going to be up to date with all this stuff as fast as that news comes in. Please also like the channel and share it if you can. Also, if you're on X, follow me on X as well. That fam is growing. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, we are rolling here. We are only a couple months away. I know it's going to sneak up on you. I'm telling you right now, we're going to go through this Super Bowl. By the time the Super Bowl, there's a couple, months left. And by the time the Super Bowl's around, we're probably going to have some direct content from EA regarding EA college football. So up until then, we got to start talking about some of the potential features in the game. And again, we've got a 12-part series here going on multiple different things. If you check out Monday's videos were about recruiting. And again, the next thing to talk about is NIL. So NIL has taken the world by storm, especially the college football world. And again, part of the reason why this game is being made again is because we finally have name, image, and likeness compensation in some capacity before. The Ed O'Bannon case before took it away. We've got it right now. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go through an old post that I have to make sure we can talk about all those aspects of it. This post came out originally in May 25th of 2022, but I think it's going to be completely relevant for now. We're going to go over three factors in this video. We're going to go over the history of NIL. We're going to go over the factors to consider in the game. And we're also going to go over my recommendations. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Please subscribe as well. But here we go. NIL, name, image, and likeness. My roommate was like, oh, that's what NIL stands for. Anyways, we are going to go into the history of NIL. Not the history with the game. There hasn't been any history with the game, but history of it so far. In relation to NCAA football and EA Sports college football going forward, the factors to consider, and then my recommendations. Let's get into that real quick. So the history, there's two big cases. One of them is a little bit older, and the other one is a little bit more recent. So we have the Ed O'Bannon cases, O'Bannon versus NCAA, and then we have Sean Alston, who was involved in the Alston versus the NCAA cases. Let's get into Ed O'Bannon first. So here we are on LexisNexis.com. They're talking about the O'Bannon versus NCAA. I don't know what any of that stuff means. I know that means Ninth Circuit of Appeals or something like that. But in essence, they come down here, they have all the information, but they have the issue. Were the NCAA's compensation rules subject to antitrust laws? And if so, were they an unlawful restraint of trade? The answer was yes. For anybody who doesn't know, again, most EA Sports NCAA Football 2014 fans know that the big reason why there wasn't NCAA Football 2015 was because of this case. They went through and they found out that there was some shady things happening with the NCAA. It kind of bled over into EA Sports. EA Sports was like, we got a litigation nightmare here. We're out. We're going from there. That was the catalyst that kind of started this off. There's also another recent ruling that we're going to talk about, that Sean Alston ruling. So like I said before, the Supreme Court's 9-0 decision against the NCAA could be the blow to change college athletics permanently, by Matt Norlander of June 21st of 2021 last year. And the most damning paragraph you could see is this one right here. Monday's ruling represents a foreshadowing of something ominous for the gatekeepers within the NCAA, the people who have restricted the rights of college athletes for generations. The final sentence of the document in the concurrence portion from Justice Brett Kavanaugh is to be remembered as the most quoted line from the ruling. The NCAA is not above the law. So think about this from this perspective, okay? This right here, so there's the 6 Supreme Court justices. 3 have been appointed by conservative judges, 3 are by presidents, 3 have been appointed by Democratic presidents. So with that, I mean, again, they're not supposed to necessarily align with all those values, but more often than not, they do. But with that, there was a 9-0 ruling. So somebody appointed by Obama, somebody appointed by Trump, somebody appointed by Bill Clinton, somebody appointed by George Bush. All of them, they all agreed that the NCAA was wrong and Sean Alston was right in that recent ruling. That shows you how bad this was, that the polar opposites in terms of values, the Democrats and the Republican appointed justices completely agreed the NCAA is in the wrong here. So continuing on, I wanted to talk about factors to consider. So with NIL, there's not as many things you have to talk about. This basically how it's going to be used and how it's going to be updated, because the use of it is important, because you want to make sure that it represents real life as close as possible. You don't have to, but again, it's a video game. It's a simulation video game. You assume it would want to do that, and how it will be updated. You want to make sure that how it updates makes sure that it represents real life as close as possible. I'm going to get into the possibilities of what they've done before with other systems and other, attributes, and then we're going to factor that into what I would recommend going forward. So how it will be used. So there's a couple different ways it can be used here. So there's an active and a passive way. So active is NIL dollars are actively assigned out to new recruits, transfer portal players, and again, foreshadowing for the future. It's more responsive and similar to real world right now. Some recruits are starting the recruiting processes with NIL discussions. I forgot the article, but there was one player who called up a coach and basically said $200,000 more in NIL or my recruit is entering the transfer portal within a couple of hours. They're literally just doing that these days. So these players are just, give me money or I'm out of here. I think that is where the world is at. So that is one possibility for the game, is to represent like that. It would be, there's some issues with that. We'll talk about those in a second. Also with that would be a passive way. NIL ratings are factored into my school prestige ratings. See on the pick. Would be drastically simpler, but not representative of the world we are in right now. So you see over here on the right side of the screen, you'll see the fact that there's, the play style, play time, and proximity to home, those are dynamic. They change with each recruit. If you have a crappy, group of players, then the playing time is going to be higher. If you have a good players, the player time is going to be lower for the new recruit. Same with proximity to home, somebody in Alaska versus somebody in Florida, it's going to change with each person. But you see here that there's coach prestige, conference prestige, stadium atmosphere, pro potential. Those can go up or down depending upon the type of players that you have, certain, requirements. I believe that, academic prestige goes up or down depending upon how many players you can get on the field earlier. So if you have a whole bunch of freshmen that are playing, it means your academic prestige would go up. I think there's some limitations behind that because Rice is going to be A+, obviously, and a whole bunch of crappy teams are going to be A+ because they probably have a whole bunch of bad players on them. So I don't know if that's exactly, it's not super dynamic. It's not going to go up and down as wildly as those dynamic ones, but the static ones will stay similar. But again, it could be like that, where it's just a rating, where it could be like, oh yeah, I want to see A+. It's very important to have their NIL rating, and then I really like their academic prestige. It could factor in like that. That would be passive, much simpler, but not necessarily representative of the world. And then there's how it's going to be updated. So let's make sure we're clear about something. I want to write this sentence very quickly at the beginning here. NIL dollars are being taken over primarily by businesses and alumni bases. It's not necessarily the fact that the schools are paying people. I think that in some instances they are, but first of all, there's very few rules about this. It's basically the Wild West out there. But what's happening is generally alumni bases are forming collectives and they are just paying recruits. Hey, come here, we'll give you $1 million, we'll give you $1 million, and so on and so forth. That was what Nick Saban was yelling at Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. So coaches generally don't have transferable access to these dollars. The reason why is because if Jimbo Fisher leaves Texas A&M and he goes to UT San Antonio, he does not get to transfer that many dollars with him. He might be able to affect some, alumni bases and things like that, but generally it will be updated on a school-to-school basis from the school-to-school year, not with their coaches. Part of my school, so if it's as part of my school, it could be a flat rating that could fluctuate small percentages each year, like a static My School rating represents an accurate way of operating an NIL. Remember, the school is going to stay the same. So if it was a flat rating, it's going to basically just be itself, and then it goes with that school. Meaning like USC had a losing record this last season. Their NIL could still be very, very high because they have such a strong alumni base. Just because they had a down year doesn't mean NIL goes into the tank and so on. Again, that might be a situation where if NIL is really high, it actually promotes them to fire their coaches. And I think that's what a lot of alumni bases do. That's the reason why a lot of pro coaches like being with pros, because all they have to do is get the GM and general manager to like them. If you're a college coach, you got a huge amount of alumni that got to like you. And if they don't, you're out. And then the last item down there is as a bank of dollars. So it will be updated as a bank of dollars. Basically, it's similar to scouting a bank you see on the right here, where it has the call time right here, and then it has the scout time right here. It could be like that, where you have your recruiting points, and then you have your NIL points, or NIL dollars, or whatever. And basically, as you go throughout the season, you can start to hand those things out. Might update on a year-to-year basis, whereas with the weekly recruiting points, that would update on a weekly basis, because you don't get more NIL dollars from week to week, do you? I don't know. So my recommendations of how it will be used, not dollars, not dollars, not dollars. Okay. Use a points bank similar to alongside recruiting points. Like I said, you'll have a weekly amount of recruiting points, and then you'll have a yearly amount of NIL dollars that you can hand out. What you can do there is points can be given away anytime throughout the season, because the cool thing about that is that NIL discussions come up all the time. Generally, they're around signing days and things like that, but it can adjust throughout the season. Points cannot grow throughout the season, so once points are all used up, you are SOL. Meaning, if you have a player and he wants to leave, and you offer some NIL points, you don't get to refresh that. It's not just a permanent thing. These collectives out there, I do think, although they seem to be bottomless pits of money right now, they will have their limitations. I think the game should have those limitations too. Also, points can be used as promises to recruits and transfer portal players. Again, I already kind of stated that, but we want to make sure that it's similar to promises. And again, it might even be integrated with promises in terms of NIL dollars. I think that should be a big aspect of it, because that will represent real life for the game. And then my recommendation for how it will be updated on a year-to-year adjustment of NIL points should reflect reality. Alumni bases and surrounding businesses change very slowly compared to coaching staffs and players, so NIL points amounts should reflect that too. I don't want to go up and down and up and down. In the game, if you have Alabama and you have 6 straight losing seasons, first of all, that's going to be several fired coaches. You have 6 straight losing seasons. You should not have a low amount of NIL dollars, because the alumni base is still passionate. They're still very high. The NIL dollar amount should still be high too. NIL points are aspects of universities, not coaches. Coaches will not have the ability to affect NIL points banks, and these should not be able to be improved through coaching points adjustments. Big reason why I want that is because NIL is a part of the school. Okay, that's a big aspect of it. If Nick Saban goes to Marshall, he's not going to have the same NIL dollar ability as he has at Alabama. It's just the way it is. And it should be tied to a my school rating that is not factored into week-to-week recruiting points. So what I mean by that is you can't have NIL double dipping, meaning you can't have, like, my 3 most important pitches are academic prestige, conference strength, and then NIL dollars, and then give them NIL dollars on top of that. Oh, this school's got a lot of NIL dollars, and then they give you NIL dollars. You don't want to separate the two. It should be a factor in there with that's something that you can do that doesn't factor into week-to-week recruiting, but is a static, pretty static rating between the school that they can go out there and create that bank for them. That's my recommendation for it. What are your guys' recommendations for it? What do you guys think we should do? How do you think it should kind of work? This is what I've got. If you can put something together, get in the comments right now. Let me know. Like I said, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well. Like I said, I'll be on IG. I just got it. Okay, follow me on IG. But let me know what you guys want, and I'll go ahead and I might even make a video about it, man. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I'd appreciate it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I am out.